going on, guys? I have a video I wanted to make here where I am switching out my BMS on my solar setup for my shed. My current BMS is a Dolly BMS, but I've been running into an issue. Got a couple different things I think that are causing it, but my main issue is that whenever I turn on my inverter, it's dropping my charge controller's voltage too much. I think mostly because I need to have it shunted for my voltage reading, but it causes my inverter to shut off because my inverter has a low voltage cutoff. And so it worked fine for about 2 years, but it's really been causing issues this last week. And my robot mower runs off of the inverter, so it has not been charging. So I'm gonna get the BMS switched out. I have a different BMS. I bought this like 2 years ago now almost, to put in there. This one's a lot smarter. I have a Bluetooth adapter for it so I can adjust the settings on my phone for this BMS. It also supports like CAN bus, and I can hook it up to my computer with a serial connector to program it and check each individual cell status. I also have a passive balancer because for some reason the Dolly BMS, I don't know if something's wrong with it or not, it is not keeping the cells balanced. So my two here are about 3.1 something, 3.12 volts, and these two are at like 3.06 or 3.08, which is not good. You need to have those closer in line. The BMS is actually doing its job. It should be doing that, but don't know why it's not. So I'm going to get my tape taken off of here, get these bolts all undone, and get this BMS disconnected, try to get my new one connected up. I don't know if I'm gonna need any cables or any bolts or anything, but we'll see. Hopefully I have some stuff. I might have to run to the store to grab some more stuff. We'll see. Alrighty, I went and put some connectors on these cables for the BMS. I ran out of the smaller gauge ones, so I had to put some blue ones on here. Should be fine. I'm not going to heat shrink them down until I know that it works good. I need to figure out, I don't know if I have enough ground cables for this setup, but I'm going to see if I can get it all hooked up and see what we got. All right, so sorry for the unorganized mess of cabling, but I got the balance leads hooked up. The red one, which is your positive, goes your main positive of your battery pack. The one next to the red will go to your third cell, which will be this one here, positive. Your next one down will go to this battery. Your last white one next to the black, so the second one right here, that will go to the same cell as your negative, but it'll go away to the positive side, and then obviously your black one will go to your battery's main negative post. Then there's two battery hookups on this. One is only good for 80 amps. If you hook up both, you'll get the full 150. I don't have a Y cable to be able to hook up both of them, so I'm just going to run one for now. 80 amps should be fine with what I'm doing with this. So I still need to hook up my load, which will be my charge controller, and my inverter will both hook up to the C-. Before I do that, I'm going to plug in this balance lead, make sure that the BMS powers up and is functioning, and then we'll go from there. All right, I got the BMS cable plugged in. Blue light is blinking, which should mean that it is doing its job. It's working, powered on and functional. I'm going to grab my Bluetooth adapter up here, get it plugged in, and see if I can get the app going and connected to the Bluetooth adapter to start monitoring this pack. I'm hoping it'll just start balancing itself out, because I know a couple of those cells are unbalanced right now, so we'll see. I'll get this connected. All right, so I got the app opened up. It shows a BMS in here. I assume this is it. Let's get connected. Yep. It is pulling up my packet. It is already balancing out those cells. This is already so much better than that Dolly BMS. Could tell my cell differential there is 0.013, 0.014 volts off. So I'm gonna let this kind of balance them out before I hook up the charge controller, and hopefully once they get a little bit closer I can get that hooked up and see if it'll start charging. Alright guys, so I got it hooked up now to the charge controller. I double checked my voltages. It's holding pretty steady at 0.013 on the difference between the cells, which should be perfectly fine. It's way better than the like 1 volt that it was before. So I'm going to turn it on and hope that nothing pops. I got the grounds hooked up on the C side. The inverter should be off by default. The charge controller will probably try charging it whenever I hook it up. I am probably going to turn off the lights in here to take off the load from that. Never mind, maybe I'll turn them back on so it doesn't overvolt it. So let's get it connected. Alright, so my lights flickered, my voltage jumped around, now we're sitting at 12.6. My BMS is still blinking, which is good. I'm gonna jump into the app and see what the app shows now that I got the solar panels hooked up. It looks like it's actually charging right now. It's doing kind of the weird thing it was doing before where my voltage is jumping around a little bit, but I've not hooked up the shunt yet, which I may have to do, but we'll see. So I will jump in the app and see what we got going on there real quick. Alrighty, got the app open here. Looks like we are charging. Looks like we're pulling in about 13 amps of power, which is awesome. Charging about 177 watts right now. It's definitely got some work to balance those cells out because they're off by quite a bit right now. 0.21. Those need to be within like 0.1. So hopefully it'll balance those out pretty quickly. I don't know how slow this BMS is, but I might give it some time, see how it charges up for a little bit here, make sure it gets those cells balanced out, and see what we got. This BMS, you can kind of see down here, it shows you how many times it drops below voltage and everything. I think the minimum voltage on this is actually set pretty low by default, but I can go into the app and change the config if I want to. See if I download these settings here. Yeah, you could see the minimum cell cap is at 3.22 volts, which I think these cells technically can go down to 3 volts a piece. Actually, I think they can go less than 3 volts a piece. So I think they can go just below 3, but 3 is usually kind of the standard. They'd keep it at about 12 volts on the whole pack. So looks like they have their caps a little bit different as far as the capacity on here. So yeah, I can go in here and change any of the settings I need to change. I can calibrate everything if I need to. This just shows me my voltage settings. So we will we'll see how this works on balancing these cells out while it charges and go from there. Oh, it just stopped charging. They're actually still within. That's the weird thing of hooking up the cell voltage here. Without it being shunted, it'll detect them all differently. Which I don't know how to get around that, but you can see once it starts charging, it immediately tries to start balancing out. But it is charging them again. It does know that the pack is only at about 10% capacity, so it is keeping track of that, which I think I do have 100. I think this is a 100 amp hour pack, so we will I'm gonna let it charge up for a bit, see how many times it power cycles kind of like it did, and go from there. I'll get back to you guys. All right, guys. After letting it charge up for a little bit, I turned on the inverter. The voltage didn't really drop at all. It's still sitting about 13 point. It was about 13.5 before. Turn on the inverter. Nothing really changed. It kind of dropped down the charging amperage a little bit. Plugged in the power for the automatic mower. I'm gonna hook up my 2 cameras that I have out here. See if our voltage changes a little bit. No, not really. So I'll show you the app here. You can take a look at it, see it drop down just a few minutes ago. It was at about 7.5 amps. So I'm sure it's a little bit lower now that I plugged in the extra cameras. So we'll see how it goes. I'll probably let it charge up for the rest of the day, maybe a little bit tonight, see what we're at the end of the day. But so far, I think it's a success. I need to get some new tape to put on here. I'll probably just fold this over for now to keep those a little bit more protected. I have some tape somewhere inside. I just need to go find it. But yeah, that's it for now. I need to order 2-cable 2-to-1. That way I can hook up both of these to the battery and hook up both of these to the inverter and charge controller. I'll probably get a bus bar. My plan is to eventually mount all of this on the wall of the shed. Build a little shelf for it all so it's all a little bit more contained. I might try to get longer leads for the BMS. That way it doesn't have to just sit right there. I can actually have it mounted somewhere. But that's it. You can see the camera's on now, so we should be good to go. Voltage is staying pretty solid, so luckily we have a little bit more daylight left, so I'll let it charge up for the rest of the day and see how far we get. And so far I'm liking it a lot better than that Dolly BMS. Having the app is just so much more convenient. But that's it for today. I'll probably do an update video on this, the whole shed, once I get everything set up and finalized. So thanks a ton for watching. We'll see you in the next video.